I want to talk to Samson.
You ain't a killer, bro. You a bitch. Boom. Slapped him across the face.
Oh shit.
And I
So he's pretty
stood up.
mad.
Boom. Boom. Just stabbed him twice. You know what I mean?
Today, I'm interviewing a rap artist who shares his struggle with drugs, money, and pain. He is someone I look at like a brother, and I'm honored to share his story. Please welcome my good friend, Austin Kudrna.
Going right now?
Yeah, we're good. We're going.
So cool, man.
So how have you been, man?
Good, brother. How about you?
Not bad. Like I'm doing the podcast thing. You know, I'm excited to have you on.
Hell yeah.
So
Thank you for having me.
yeah.
Good.
So I didn't get to prepare a lot of questions, so we're just kind of raw
Winging
dogging
it.
it today.
All right, cool.
But so main reason I wanted to have you on, man, is because you've had a fucking crazy life, and just kind of getting into the whole, idea. Like, would you say your story like starts?
Where did my story start?
Yeah, make sure.
My story really starts, I guess, with just being born. You know what I mean? I was born in Greeley, Colorado, in June 12th, 1991. My mom and my dad, and we lived in a trailer park in Greeley. Lived out there for a while, and then we came out to Frederick when I was like 6.
Okay.
Yep, and I lived there until I was about 13, and I moved out to Commerce City for a little bit and Westminster with my grandma and my dad. But yeah, I guess my story really starts like when
So do you have a pretty normal childhood? Would you say, or
a little bit like not at first it was pretty normal, I would say. Like when I moved to Frederick, I was, kicking it with just normal people. I was into skateboarding, you know what I mean? I was into sports. It was pretty normal for the most part. And then I guess like in 2007 is when really everything just like changed for me. And but a little bit before that I started getting in trouble, getting arrested for weed and stuff. I was like 13, 14, getting arrested for weed, going to juvenile detention. I started,
how'd you end up in juvie, man? At like you said 13?
yeah, cuz this dude basically I was on ankle monitor because I think I was on ankle monitor because I broke somebody's window or something, and then I got caught with weed. I shot somebody's window out with a slingshot,
Oh, geez.
and then I had some of my mom's weed that I stole, and the cops caught me with that, and they seen that I had a bandana hanging out my pocket, and I had I had a bandana hanging out my pocket, and they tried to say that that was a slingshot that I shot a window out with, but it really wasn't. I just broke the window out with I threw the rock at the window. I didn't even have a slingshot, but they ran up on me all crazy, like arrested me and stuff.
So what would you say, like, was there crazy? Because for me, when I was a kid, I had a pretty crazy childhood. There was a lot of turmoil at home,
Yeah,
and so I would just leave my house and be out running around because I
yeah,
didn't want to go home,
yeah,
right? And I wouldn't say I got too much trouble. Luckily, like I don't know, I think I wasn't. I was kind of a how do I say that? I was a real sensitive kid, and I didn't really want to like get in too much trouble and stuff like that. But
I
I
remember.
was running around,
Uh huh.
riding my bike, probably doing stuff I shouldn't. But would you say that's a big reason that you were running around? Is just that home life is pretty crazy, or
I mean that's part of it. Yeah, like my home life wasn't crazy in the fact that like there wasn't like it. Like I had a candy. I lived right next to the high school. You remember? I lived right next to
yeah.
the high school, and like everybody would come to my house to smoke weed on the lunch breaks. I had a drawer filled with candy. You know what I mean? Like my house was like I didn't feel like my house was real welcoming. I liked being at my house, and I could do anything I wanted at my house. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, where I felt like other kids didn't like being at their house because either there was bad stuff going or their parents were mean or strict and they wouldn't let them get away with stuff.
Yeah.
Where my house was like a free for all for the most part. You know what I mean? My house was chill. Like come through. We got the tramp. We got video games. We got candy. We smoke a weed out in the garage. Your mom don't care about the weed? Nah, she cool. We chilling.
Yeah, okay.
So it was my house. It was real cool until all of a sudden it just wasn't. It's basically just it was just real cool until it was always just real cool until I went to jail and I got out and then there was no house to come home to basically for me.
Okay.
That's when it really changed,
This keeps falling.
But that didn't happen for a long time. My childhood was pretty cool, man. I was really reckless. Like
So was it a personality thing?
I think a lot of it was a personality thing. You know, like I was. Let's see. I don't know how old I was. I was probably. It was before the Kyle when Kyle got murdered. I was 15. So this was pre Kyle. So I was 13, 14. And I had already I was with this girl. She was like 18 years old, and my friend Isai, and he was like
Oh,
a
I
couple
remember him.
years older than me. You know what I mean? I was a youngster, and we went to a party to go kick it, and we peeled out at the end of the party, and we're like, let's I was gonna take this girl that I was with. I was like, she was too drunk to drive, so we put her in the back seat, and I drove. I was 13, 14 years old. I drove her car to my homie Isai's house to drop him off, and his parents were like screaming at him in Spanish, like, "Ah." And he's like, "Bro, I can't stay here. You got to take me back with you." And I was like, "All right, we'll go back to my crib." And we get back to the crib. He's like, "Let's go to Burger King for lunch. I'm hungry." We get there, and
And is this in that girl's whip the whole
this
time?
is in this girl's whip. And I tell him, I was like, no, I'm not gonna drive. I was like, let's go, but I'm not gonna drive, bro. I was like, I'm drunk as fuck. Like, I'm not driving. And we were into punk rock back then. We're bumping. I remember we're bumping the Casualties, full blast, bumping the Casualties. I don't know if you know what that is. They're a punk rock
It
band.
sounds so familiar, man, but I wasn't really into the whole punk rock too much.
And yeah, man. He turns it down, and he's like, bro, he's like, I'm on probation. Like, if we get pulled over, I'm not.
Wait, how old is Isai at this time? He's
I
like,
mean, he's a couple years older than me. I'm guessing he's 17, 18.
okay.
You know what I mean? He was in high school. I was in middle school. And the
Sounds
girl
like
I
you
was
were-
with was in high school too. I was always remember me. I was always like, it seemed like all the I was real cool with everybody in middle school, and then all of a sudden they were like, "Nah, you ain't cool no more." But all the kids in high school thought I was cool because I had the spot where they could come smoke weed at.
Okay, yeah. You know,
So that's
you're
kind of
a
how
cool
it worked.
kid, chilling with everybody and everything.
That's basically, yeah. It was like a lot of the kids, like I don't know if you remember, just like I felt like the kids at my age, I felt like I was like part of the inner circle and cool with them kids, and then all of a sudden they were like, "Nah, bro, you ain't cool no more."
My
Like,
mom told me I can't hang out with you
yeah,
anymore.
basically, yeah, or just like I don't know. I felt like a lot of them, like I don't know, who knows. I just was on some different. I was on some different stuff. You know what I mean?
It's
I was
crazy.
like, in a way, I was like ahead of my time, but on doing bad stuff because a couple years later, I was like, they were like, "Oh, damn, this is what it is." I was like, "Yeah, bro, I've been on this." You know what I mean?
Well, I think speaking from my own experience, I think we all kind of go through that rebellious
Yeah.
streak, and it just sounds like maybe you maybe had that like innate to you, like you're just kind of a rebellious kind of nature.
Yeah.
Would you
Yep.
agree with that, or?
Definitely. Yeah, I had that rebellious nature. I had a lot of pent up frustration and anger in me. I was in and out of juvie my whole life, and they used to prescribe me a medication for rage.
Okay.
And they said basically that's what they diagnosed me with is having rage, fits of rage. And they prescribed me a medication that, and it was Ambien.
Okay.
Like, how the hell you just gonna knock me out when I get ready? You know what I mean?
So, but is that's not just a straight diagnosis? It's just rage, right? There's usually an
That's
underlying mental like thing going on there,
what
right?
they gave me. What they diagnosed me was manic depression,
Okay.
bipolar.
Okay.
You know,
The
all that.
bipolar makes sense because you'd be like happy one minute and then you're angry the next kind of thing.
Mhm.
My
Yeah.
dad had bipolar, and
Yeah.
that was like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And knowing you, I haven't seen that as much, but maybe you have a better handle on it. My dad would be like one minute like have his arm around you, all happy, and then next minute like ready to punch you in the face, and you're
Mhm.
like, "What the heck, man?"
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so to kind of like because the people that are watching may not know you,
Yeah.
um, like going through all this, so you've been in and out of juvie, and then to kind of get in more detail, like what happened to the point where you think your life maybe turned because I from what I understand, you went through a lot of like you went through drug addiction and obviously
Yeah.
you've made your way out now, but just kind of get tell that story for people at
So
home to know like, hey, like you can.
I'll I'll go to the point where I was like, "Fuck it," and I went all the way, and it was like
Was this before? Can we
this.
get into like was
This
this
I'll go.
during
I'll
Kyle
go.
or
Yeah, this is around that time. So building up, there was a lot of stuff, but 2007 was the year where I was just like, it shook my life. You know what I mean? Because I was before that, I was a 15-year-old kid. I was still in middle school. I was just like a skater kid. And then when I was 15, I moved to Brighton for a little bit. I got like more introduced with kids that were just like more into like gangs and shit. And then so my one day I'm out there and I was growing weed, and there's a bunch of Sureños that lived underneath me that were doing selling coke, and I didn't go to school. My dad was always in like, just like gone. He was always in Wyoming and shit, so I didn't really have to go to school. I was growing weed in the closet. I lived right next to the high school, and I would make cigarettes. And I would roll up packs of weed. I would do, 2 fingers for 20, 4 fingers for 40, and it was big stacks of swag, and I would make cigarettes and I go out in front of Smoker's Corner and trap all day and do that all day instead of going to school. And I got involved with like some of the Sereños and these Juggalo kids and all these other kids over there. And that was when I was so then that was 2006. And then one day me and my mom were fighting. I went to juvie because my mom called the cops on me. And so I was like, fuck my mom. For like a whole year, I didn't talk to her. I was like, fuck her. She's a snitch. She put me in jail. I didn't talk to her. And one day she came knocking on the door at my dad's crib in Brighton. And I was there. I remember I was just making cigarettes and rolling up weed. You know what I mean? I was getting ready to go hit the block. And I was like, she knocks on the door and I look out I thought it was just one of my homies or somebody coming through because I had a lot of traffic coming through all the time. There's always traffic. I look out the peephole and it's my mom. I'm like, fuck
all
my
right, try to
mom.
stay on.
I'm like, what the fuck my mom doing here? You know what I mean? And I let her in and she comes in and gives me a big hug right away. Like, I missed you, son. Da, da, da. She says, you got any weed? And I was like, yeah. I sit down, I roll up a joint. And then she just starts crying and shows me these papers. And it said, that she was positive for AIDS, HIV AIDS. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, shit. Like, I didn't really understand. I was 15, so I didn't know, but I was just like, I just knew it was really bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I was just like, what? I was like, AIDS. I was like, that's what Easy E died from, right? You know what I mean? That's what I knew it from, and it took Easy E quick. So I was like, fuck, man, like what the fuck? And so yeah, my mom told me that, and I was like, fuck, that was really fucked up. And me and my mom, I came back to Frederick with her for a couple days, and we hit the liquor store and we started smoking weed together and chilling. And before that, we weren't really doing that together. But and then after that, we're like, fuck, like we were, but not to the extent. You know what I mean? And then we were just like,
Would you say you got kind of like bonded?
we did, yeah, we definitely bonded when we started using together more, which is kind of fucked up in a way, but we did, and because we were real distant, like I said, we were distant. I completely was like, I was mad at her,
So I
but then
mean,
I knew I was gonna lose her, so I brought her real close to me again. And then so after that goes down, I go back to the spot, and like I said, I'm growing weed. This is before weed is legal, so it's still a hella felony
yeah,
to
yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
growing weed.
Especially in like
This
high amounts. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is 2007, and then this chick. I was messing with this chick in high school. This chick, Kitty, her name was, and she was taking pictures of my weed plants. Her mom found them, made her snitch on me. Cops pulled up in my spot, kicked me and my dad out of the crib. I go to jail on the felonies. My
So
dad,
did your dad get in trouble for it too?
uh, probably yeah. My dad been through so much shit with me. My dad, I mean, he probably got so much debt and so much fucked up shit because of me, man. It's fucked up. But he bonded me out. I got out. I'm pretty sure he bonded me out, and we went back to my mom's crib in Frederick. You know what I mean? And that's when I was kicking it over there, and then my homeboy Brody and Dead Body and all them fools came through. That's like who the people I was kicking it with and trapping with and all that over there. And yeah, they came through for like a day or two, and then him and we were drinking like Ron Rico rum. I remember my homie Alex Fregosi was there. Let's see, my friend Dead Body, Brody, Kyle came through. My friend Nate Brady. I don't know if you know some of these
Yeah, no, I do. I
homies
know some of them. Yeah.
from around the town, and just kids we grew up with, and yeah, we were all just kicking back, drinking, and basically, homeboy Brody had fake scratch tickets, and so
Okay.
they
They're fake.
they were fake to the extent he stole them from 7-Eleven, so they void if you don't pay for them. So even though if you scratch them and it says you won $10,000, once you go to cash it out, you'll be like, nah, this is void. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
okay, because they're stolen.
So what we was doing, we had them and we didn't have money, so we were scratching them off and we are pulling them off on people and fucking scamming people and doing shit like that. And word around town was people already knew about that, and like Kyle kind of knew that was going down and knew a little bit about that, and um, Brody tried to like get one off on him, like you know what I mean, and Kyle's like, oh, bro, I know, like, no, and,
yeah. He's like, I'm not dumb, bro.
yeah, and this Brody dude, he was a super juggalo kid. He thought he was like super fucking killer, twisted, insane. You know what I mean? Twisted
Okay,
killer.
okay.
That was his whole vibe. And then you know how Kyle was. Kyle was just
Real
just
chill.
Kyle, just chill, whatever. But he could turn up. He could turn up. Uh, yeah. So they're going back and forth about this, and Kyle ended up trusting him on it, and then got burned on it, and then told him, he's like, um, he'll stand up, bro. Like he
So
he
wait, you
took
mean he got burned on it? Like he went to go try to
he
cash
wanted
it?
to go cash it out, and no, you know what I mean? No
And
money,
is
and
this like days later, or is this?
no, this is all within a couple hours. You know what I mean? So I was right there in Frederick, and he's like, "I'm gonna go to you pump it real quick. I'll be right back." And then he came, right back, and was like, "What the fuck?"
Okay, and Brody's still chilling there.
Yeah,
And where are you guys at? Like, you guys like in the like a living room, or like what kind of setting is this all?
yeah. So I don't know if you remember my parents' house,
The
but
when you were there, I've only was there like twice.
oh, for real. So yeah, uh, front door, and then there's the living room right there. Um, so yeah, I think so. Kyle was like selling us some dope. You know what I mean? And that's what
Yeah.
the whole thing was. And then Brody went and did the dope in the bathroom, and came when Kyle came back. He's like, "Where my shit at, bro?" And he's like, "I smoked it." He's like, "Well, where my money at then? Like, what the fuck?" He's like, "Oh,
Yeah, he doesn't want to get burned like that.
yeah." And then this for Brody started acting all crazy. Like, I ain't. He's like, or Kyle was like, "I'm gonna fuck you up, bro. Get in the back. I already told you, bro, what it is. If you rip me off, I'm gonna fuck you up. Go in the backyard." Go in the backyard, and was trying to get him to get off the couch so he go to the backyard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you could,
And yeah, basically, he was like, Brody kept saying, "I ain't no fighter. I'm a killer. I ain't no fighter. I'm a killer." And he's like, "Fool, you ain't shit, bro. You ain't shit." And he went to I had like a butcher block full of knives. You know what I mean? On in the kitchen table, and
who went and grabbed that?
Kyle did. Kyle grabbed it and said, "You ain't a fighter." He said, went back and forth, threw it down and said, "You ain't a fighter, or you ain't a killer, bro. You a bitch." Boom, slapped him across the face.
Oh shit!
And now
So he's pretty
stood up.
mad.
Boom, boom, just stabbed him twice. You know what I mean? Basically.
Oh, Brody did.
Yeah. Yup.
With the butcher knife, or was it I
It's
heard
a
something about
steak.
samurai sword or something. What was that all
Yeah,
about?
like I don't know where the fuck that came from.
Okay, yeah, because I just heard that through the grapevine. I was like, "What samurai?" Or
You
actually, I think
know,
I even read it in an article or something that was written.
yeah, there was no samurai sword. Like I had a lot of dope, like cool weapons around my house, but no, it was a steak knife, man. He used a steak knife.
Fuck, man. So that had to been hard for you. So what happened? Everyone starts freaking out?
Yeah, man. So like a lot of people took off running. Brody took off running. Um, homeboy took off running. And basic Kyle's right there on the ground. I called the cops right away. I called the cops. I'm freaking out. And I'm on the phone with them. They're trying to stay on the phone with me. And I'm like, nah, like this is my address. Get over here. And I'm talking with Kyle on the ground. He's bleeding out. And Brody like comes back in, like, bro, what are we gonna do? Like, what the fuck? And I was like, what the fuck you mean, bro? What are we gonna do? And he came back in for a second, and I seen him, and I was like, man, I was pissed, bro. I was like, get the fuck out of here. I was wanting to like swing on him and shit. Uh, it was just a lot of pandemonium. My mom was upstairs, and she came downstairs and seen everything. There's about this much blood on the whole table, on the whole kitchen floor.
Yeah, no, I got you,
I'm
man.
on
I'm
I'm
sure
on
it's
I'm on the ground and I'm by Kyle, and I was already having them fits of rage around that time. So her and my dad were like, "What did you do, Austin? What did you do? Like, what the fuck did you do?" They thinking I did all this. The cops come in, they arrest me right away.
okay. Yeah, they're probably gonna try to handcuff anybody right away because
Yeah,
of
man.
what's going. They
So
have to figure out what's going on.
right, yep, exactly. You know what I mean? But from my perspective, I seen it. I called for help, and then I was like, "Fuck."
Yeah,
That's why I've always had a bitterness for the police.
yeah. I mean, I would be the same way. Honestly, you come in and you start arresting, I'd be pretty mad too.
Yeah, and they even actually ended up charging me with a bunch of other bullshit that night that they told me that they weren't gonna charge me with because I had a rough night. Oh, we're gonna let this slide because you had a rough night, and then I show up to probation and they still ended up charging me with some shit. But so they take me back to the station. You know what I mean? They got me. They got everybody that was there that night.
Did they get
Different
Brody, or
things.
Brody had taken off?
Not immediately. It took like a little bit. Like I don't know how long. Maybe I'm guessing maybe half hour, 40. He wasn't far. He was in the alley behind my crib, so I don't think it took him that long. You know what I mean? But yeah, uh, but he wouldn't admit to it. You know what I mean? And basically, they had me in interrogation, like
Was there a
interrogate.
bunch of other people saying, "Oh yeah," because it was you, Kyle, bro? There was a bunch of people there, right?
And everybody, basically had the same story, but still they were not cool until what? I think the whole samurai sword. I think this is where it came into play because Brody was like, "I did it, but it was self defense because he had a sword on me and da 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 da." And I think he swung that whole story in there, and I think that's how it.
Oh, okay, okay.
Because I did have a samurai sword at the crib. We were fucking around with a samurai sword that night. I had samurai swords, machetes. I had all
Yeah,
kinds of
yeah,
crazy
yeah.
shit, and we were fucking around with it. But that's not actually, what happened.
So man, that had to be like I can only imagine. Like I only kind of knew Kyle. Like I knew him from like we I ride bikes with him here and there, but it was nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. I didn't know him that well because
Right.
we weren't like we just weren't cool. Like we didn't hang out. So when I heard about it, it was still shock because it's like one of the hood kids is got killed.
Yeah.
But and it seems like a lot of people did know him really well. There was like 300 people at his funeral or more. I
Yeah.
remember like they packed out that VFW,
Uh huh.
but I can only imagine that's had to been like a very traumatic experience for you to go
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I felt a lot of different ways. I did get different feelings from different people. I had people out in Brighton and Commerce City saying that I snitched on Brody because I called the cops. I had people over here in Frederick saying I waited too long to call the cops, and that's why Kyle's dead. So I got it from both ends. You know what I mean? I
through.
had
Yeah,
people
yeah.
in every city like, "Fuck you." That's how I felt. Maybe some people didn't feel like that. Maybe it was in my head, but from my point of view, I felt like everybody was like, "Fuck you, it's your fault," and I felt like that for a lot of years.
Do you think you were maybe a lot of those feelings maybe have been yourself telling you that too?
I think so. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because he was my friend. None of that would have went down. I was the link that linked them too. I was
Yeah,
the
yeah.
link that linked the killer to Kyle. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
was
you can't blame yourself for that, but I get what you're saying. Like it's unavoidable
yeah.
that you're gonna feel, you know,
Hmm.
feel a certain way. So, fuck, man. Yeah, that's gotta suck. Like,
Yeah. It was a trip. So that was 2007. That was when like it shook me to the core. You know what I mean? And from there, I got I was 15, so obviously I got took it from my parents. You know what I mean? I got weed and a murder. They're like, all right, let's get this kid out from his
so they
parents.
put you in like foster care?
But nah, I was they took me to the Department of Youth Correction. So it's like DOC, but it's DYC. It's a juvenile prison. And so I went, to Platte Valley for a long time, and I was always in and out of that. And then they got me to a place called Turning Point in Fort Collins.
Is it like a halfway house or what is that?
Basically, yeah, it's like a kid halfway house. Yeah, they you go to school while you're there
So
because all everybody's
what was like what was what was being like in the correction facility like? Do you have people trying to punk you all the time or like what's
nah. Well, sometimes you got of course. It's crazy. The juvenile facilities were way more crazy and active than some of the adult facilities that I've been
because
to.
they put you in the so when that happens and they take you away and that would you call it D.
It's called DYC, Department of Youth Corrections.
So how long were you in there?
Um, so until they actually sentenced me, I was in and out all the time, 3, 4, 5 months at a time. But when they actually sentenced me, my sentence was 1 to 2 years, and so it's a minimum of 1 year, a maximum of 2 years, depending on my behavior.
So what's that like being like you get put into this facility, right? And you're you've already been kind of in and out of the system, so is it not as
So
shocking maybe to you or
no, 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 absolutely not. So I was fucking, I think 15 years old at the time, and to me, 1 or 2 years when you're 15 years old feels like a fucking lifetime.
oh yeah, I can imagine.
When I got 1 or 2 years, I got to 1 to 2 same sentence when I was 28 years old, and I was like, oh, all right, cool, gives me a little break, I'll be back. But when I got it when I was 15, now I was like, I'm missing prom, I'm missing high school. I didn't go to high school, I didn't get no prom. I spent my 21st birthday locked up, not because of that sentence, because I fucked up again, but still, you know what I mean? Like, it was like the end of the. I remember laying back like this is that. You know what I mean? This is it. It was like the end of the world to me at that time,
Yeah, so
bro.
you were put into the facility. Like, is it pretty much lockdown? Do they put you like in a cell, or do you your own room? Like, how is it all set up?
yeah. So it's a pod. 2 stories tall.
Is it like
And
jail, kind of?
it's exactly like jail. Yeah, it looks. Have you ever been to Weld County Jail?
yeah, I've been to jail.
So it's identical, but the difference is you wake up every morning and you go to school all day. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You're in classes all day. They keep you in social studies, writing. They keep you in all your classes because you're a kid and you go to school. You actually interact with the other girls that are locked up and all the other dudes. And for me, it was such a cool learning experience because I was so small town Frederick, really. You know what I mean? I All of my memories, everything I knew was small town Frederick, and I would get into these facilities in Adams County and Weld County with all these kids that were like just like on some other shit that I like. Oh,
Did
you
you
know
end
what I
up
mean?
making
Like
friends and
these
stuff?
kids, yeah, yeah. You know what I mean? I'd be like, these kids be out here really be gang banging and carrying guns and shit, and I'm like, oh shit, it was intriguing to me. You know what I mean? I was just like, oh damn, this is dope. Like what the fuck? To me, it was just intriguing. I was like, oh shit, and I already had that. Um, as I was a kid, when I was that age, especially, I had that like attitude. Like I didn't even care. Like I wasn't scared of a lot of them. Like I was there. I was down to prove myself. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
cared
yeah.
what their opinion thought of me. That's where I fucked up. I shouldn't have valued their opinion because I was down to do stupid shit just to prove myself. You know what I mean? As a kid, just like I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
I'll,
you
I'll
were
punch this motherfucker right now. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, I did it was like something stupid. So I was put in like it was like minimum security, like C
yeah.
pod for like I was driving without insurance,
Uh-huh.
right? So it's nothing crazy. And I remember hating
C-Pod's
it.
huge. Yeah.
Well, I remember just hating being like that little experience. I spent like 4 days in jail,
Oh shit.
so it wasn't anything crazy.
Mhm.
But what drove me nuts was like there's no windows,
Mhm.
right? You're like in a cell. I just slept most of the time. I
You
did
get
push-ups and slept.
you get to know
People were
yourself
cool.
real
Like I
well.
didn't get like nobody like came up on was all sideways. There was like sometimes you get like a dirty look, but it was like whatever.
You know, if you go in there and you just a normal dude doing normal shit, nobody should fuck with you. Why the fuck?
Yeah, yeah.
But
No,
if
no.
you
What?
go in there and you like saying this, being that,
I had people
acting
try to
that,
take my cookies and stuff, and I was like, nah, bro, they're my cookies.
if somebody try to take your cookie, they a bitch, man. That's a whole bitch move, man. You trying to punk somebody for their cookie, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
fucked up. Like we all in here together. We all locked. That's the way.
But it was minimum security too, so it's not like I was locked up with people that are out like
Yeah.
going doing crazy stuff.
And
It's all
the,
non-violent.
some of the best, coolest times I actually had was doing time because I did so much and you'll be surprised you can actually find you get around, you know, there's always fucked up people, but you could get around some good camaraderie and good dudes when you're doing time and you know what I mean? It you get some good there's some good people that you meet when you're locked up
Yeah, and they just made
and
a
you
stupid choice or whatever. Yeah,
yeah, man. And then there's a lot of fucked up people you meet when you locked up too. But some of the cause I some of the best times that I had and where I learned the most is when I was locked up.
because you think it gives you time to like meditate and kind of find who you are.
Exactly. I got to learn about myself. I got to know me good in some of them lockups, especially the ones where I spent by myself. You know what I mean? Because like a C pod, when you go to the minimum security, you don't get to know yourself good because you in a room with 8, 9 other dudes, 6 other dudes, 5 other dudes. But when they lock you away all by yourself, like a couple times DRDC or when I was in the hole in Weld County one time for 4 months. So that's solitary confinement. 20 hours only come out 1 hour a day. And
That's got to be messes with you psychologically.
yeah, it did a little bit, it did for sure. I mean, eh, yeah, like I don't know, man. That was a weird period of my life. I say at first it started like that 4 months. That first month felt like fucking anxiety, cabin fever. The second month felt like dreamland. The third month was cool. It was like I swear, man, that was when the changes started to take place, and I started like I just really started to like think about instead of throwing a pity party and being shitty and just I just started thinking about the world and reflecting about different things, bro. Just like I don't know how to explain it,
Do you
but
think it
just
helped you overall? Like, do you think it was
it
a good thing for you overall, or
maybe not that exact experience, but all my struggles definitely were a good thing for me, because
'cause it sounds like you were an angry person? So, do you think taking that time to self-reflect maybe helped you calm down, or
it could have, yeah. Yeah, I mean it did. It definitely did. I think that was one I ain't gonna say because I like I said, that was that first change that I told you in 2007,
yeah,
that
yeah.
first shift. And that was that shift where I was just like,
So,
that
what
was all
happens when you
bad. So then my next shift was way later. So I would hit that shift and then from 2007, I say until what was that? 2018 or I think it was 19 when I went back. I went back to prison twice in between that time. And but I was just on a trajectory where it was like I never pictured myself having a normal shit, like normal life, normal job. That never was appealing to me. I didn't want to go work for a company. That seemed like I might as well be back doing time. That's how I
yeah, yeah, yeah.
felt. I want to live my life. I want to do my shit my way. That's how I felt. And instead of like wanting to work a job or do the slow progress, I was just want to get it all right away. And but basically it was just a downward spiral from there, nonstop, and it kept getting worse. It kept getting worse. So we moved over here with Platteville with my mom. Me and my mom are doing drugs together. My mom ends up being in Ohio. I moved with my dad for a little bit in Brighton. I'm getting so fucked up. He can't handle me. This is all over a 10-year span. I lose my job at the oil field. I go to prison for a little bit. I get
So
out of prison.
what? So sorry, I don't want to just skip over too big of gaps. So during that time, like when I fucked you the most, it was when you were here in Platteville, right?
Yeah.
And I was probably, I never did get anything too crazy. I just smoked a lot of weed. So
Uh-huh.
I would show up to your place and we'd smoke weed, right?
Yeah.
But during that time, from what I kind of like learned is that when you probably got probably pretty bad on the drugs or
Oh, my time in Platteville was absolutely my worst time when I got worse on drugs. That's where I found heroin. That's where I first shot up at. That's where I made my first lot of money hitting licks. That's where I fucking learned how to, because I was
what
already
do you mean by
trapped.
hitting licks?
So,
That's just like a term I've never heard before.
so for me, what it meant for me at that time, what a hitting licks means is some kind of fucking robbery or a theft or like some kind of jack move. But
Okay, okay. It's
but
like
for
slang
me,
for that.
what it meant is I worked for this dude, and what we did was he had tractors, wood chippers, any kind of heavy equipment, and he had some outside buyer, and we would plan out missions where he would be like, "I want this wood chipper, I want this tractor," and I would take his truck and his trailer out there. I would get it for him, and I'd bring it back to him, and then he would pay me just huge lumps of money at a time. I walk out that bitch with 10 G's for one night. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, and I
Okay,
was
okay.
just
And
like,
that
damn,
probably was fueling that.
yeah, like that was fully, and it's crazy because I was on juvenile parole when I was doing that, and I got off of juvenile parole, and then I told him I was like, I'm scared of getting caught up. I just got off parole. I don't want to do this no more. But the whole time I was on parole, I was doing it. But yeah, so I got into shit like that. I got into counterfeit money. You know what I mean? I was learning how to make counterfeit money at that time. I was
Basically like small town
my mom was
GTA.
getting my mom was getting what, like 500 oxys a month for $1.
Oh,
$1,
geez.
because she was on Medicaid. She would get 500 oxy 30s for $1. And then we would be flipping them and doing them like a motherfucker. Boom, you know what I mean? So we were just, it was just an abundance of just bullshit going on. Abundance of drugs, abundance of fucking people at the crib, abundance of money going in and out. I was making a lot of money. I didn't have a lot to show for it though. I was so fucked up and so high. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So at what time do you start getting into music at this time or is that just
This is the exact same time that I did get into music too, because I met this dude right here in Platteville, my friend Toon Chaos. And yeah, man, and I was already rapping before that, you know what I mean? But I never been in the studio, I never been on
because I remember
stage.
we'd smoke weed or whatever and then we sitting there trying to freestyle and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like we used to just freestyle, hang out, and that was as far as I took it. But when I met my friend down here, he was like doing shows in Denver at the Roxy, and like he had a crew before that kind of like fucked him over and bailed on him. So he was just looking to start up his whole own new crew. And you know what I mean? When I had a little, I don't know, like I had already been fantasizing about being a rapper and doing some. I'd already been fantasizing about shit like this, and I was like a punk rock kid before this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
when
yeah.
I was doing time as a juvenile, I liked hip hop a lot. I loved hip hop, and I used to fucking write lyrics in my journal. And people would be like, "What are you writing?" And I'd be like, embarrassed, like, "Nah, like I'm not writing raps." You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, that was my image, was to be that rock dude. You know what I mean? To be a punk rocker. And but I loved writing lyrics, and I loved rap, and I loved to rap, and I hid it for a little bit when I was in juvie. Early on, when I was in juvie, I didn't want people to know that that's what I was doing. But then when I met him and we were freestyling and shit, and he told me like, "Look, bro, I'm gonna start doing shows." And all right, he took me to this guy D Jangles. He's actually like kind of like a legend around Denver. Slow Pain,
Was he like a mentor to you or is it
not necessarily, no, but he was somebody that I looked up to at the time because he was doing hella shows and making music. His music was dope. He wore shoestrings out his hat. Motherfucker, you know what I mean? And he took me to my first ever recording studio, which was it was just his house in Aurora and in his garage. And we recorded my first ever track. And then, we started going over there recording, getting on stage, and that was my first taste of all that. And we really had good opportunities right there that some of them guys were blessing us with, like Slow Pain and Scum and all that. But I was so focused on I didn't see it making money for me. I was so focused on getting high and making money with the oxys, with the 30s, and with you know, um, I was just so fucking
Yeah,
high
I get you.
that
You
I
were
fucked off that opportunity, and I felt like we could have really built something from the ground up right there. We were start because we were young right then, build it from the ground up. We had them opportunities, and now I'm trying to redo it 10 years later, and I'm like, fuck, I wish I would have just done it right back then.
yeah, but maybe you like at the time, obviously you said it, you weren't mentally ready for any of that.
Well, all I seen was immediate gains. I couldn't even bring my ass to work long enough to get a paycheck.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I feel like a lot of society just in general, like that's how we are. Like we want the
And
instant gratification.
on top of that, it was heightened because I was in fight or flight mode a lot of times. I was in these facilities and, I witnessed a lot of death. On top of Kyle, there was Mark, there was my mom dying. So it's like to me, like it didn't seem very like my future didn't like 10 years didn't seem promising. Like I need that now. You know what I mean? So I'm
Yeah,
like
yeah.
my plan wasn't even like I was just like, nah, like I didn't really see. I honestly, until very recently, I honestly just seen my future like until I got clean because I didn't know if I could really like commit myself to getting clean and to like commit myself to the things that I've been doing lately, to like working a normal life and self discipline and just not, you know what I mean? Just some of the things that I decided that I normal people stuff that I just need to accept and do.
So what do you think drove you? I mean, thank God you got clean. Like
Yeah.
like that's awesome. It's
Uh,
something that not a lot of people, some people, never do. Like,
yeah.
it takes their life. Like I had a brother, and he he was always in and out of jail.
Hmm.
You know, he was hanging out with the wrong people, and inevitably he got killed because of it. You know what I mean? He stole a Yukon and was taking it down I-25 and flipped it, and he died instantly in a high speed chase. Right. So I mean that's I think part of the reason why that I probably stayed away from a lot of stuff because I saw what it did to my brother.
Hmm.
And so it kind of maybe scared me. I was like, oh, I definitely, it's crazy. It's amazing that I didn't end up doing a lot of drugs or
Right.
getting in a lot of trouble just because all the stuff that was around me.
Because it could have.
But what I'm trying to say is that it, like that could easily ruin your life.
Absolutely.
You know,
And it's an absolute miracle that it didn't because I should have got that response when I seen Kyle and all that shit, and I should have been like, "Oh, I'm gonna fall back." But instead, I was just like angry, and I looked up to him, and I looked up to that, and I seen his circle starting to try to let me in a little bit or whatever. You know what I mean? So I was just like, but and then on
plus
top of
like
that,
depression and anger can do a lot to you.
if they would have kept me, say, around good people and around a good environment, I would have been cool. But nah, they put me in a fucking environment full of other young, angry kids. You know what I mean? Half of them are fucking, gang banging or on drugs or even more angry than me. You know what I mean? And instead of putting me in a good environment, they put me with more shit that fueled it. And instead of learning about, learning about making money legit, like a job trade or something, I was learning about all this criminal shit with all these other criminals in a confined space, learning about criminal shit.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like why I don't understand why they don't have more like psychological help.
They working on it. I feel like it's getting better in the system. I've noticed that they don't treat addicts the way they used to. They don't just
Because would
throw
you
them
agree
away.
that, like, not to get off your story too much, but would you agree that addiction is a disease? That some people that's they label it as
I mean, no,
no.
no. I don't think a disease is.
I
I mean, like a disease. A disease is like bone cancer, like cancer.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
You can't do nothing about that.
They just mean like it
You
takes
can do
away, it
something
takes
about
away.
your addiction. It's a mental condition. I think a lot of it is mental. Like a lot of it is
But like more like it should be treated like it, not like because I feel like a lot of people get villainized
yeah.
for it, right? They
Mhm.
get like they get villainized, but a lot of people don't truly understand the type of grasp like heroin can have on you.
Absolutely.
You know, like that's a dark thing. Like the more and more you get into it, it can ruin your life.
Absolutely. And I think and oh yeah, it's ruined some dude. If I were to write a list on the wall of the amount of friends I got dead or in prison, it would take out this whole fucking wall. You know what I mean? But what I think when it comes to the recovery thing is there's so many people that are like, this is what works. This is what you need to do to recover. This is what works for me. Nah, bro, nobody's the same.
Yeah.
Nobody's shit is gonna work the same, bro. You gotta find out what works for you. Like NA and shit didn't work for me. But what worked for me was writing shit, getting in the booth, working out. You know what I mean? Like shit like that.
Do you think getting to a point where you actually wanted it was really the key?
Well, that's what I was gonna tell you about the second turning point. So I told you about that first turning point in 2007, and then I kind of went into like the earlier of how bad I went, but it got even worse. Like, so I was telling you about the part where I was making money and doing good,
Yeah.
but then it got to the point where my addiction was so bad that I was on the streets, bro. Like I burnt every bridge. None of my family wanted nothing to do with me, bro. I got out of jail and so my dad was in Texas, my mom's in Ohio. I had no family. I got out to nothing. I got out to nothing. I
So
had a
when is this?
backpack.
So you're in Platteville for a while,
Uh-huh.
and then is it just like you ended up going to jail? Is that what happened?
All right, so when I go to jail in from Platteville, I get out and my mom's in Ohio and I had no home to come home to basically. And I'm with this chick, Chrissy, and I was homeless on the streets for like a little bit, like 6, 7 months. And then my dad and I went to jail for a little bit, and my dad came and was like, "All right, you come work with me, come live with me in Brighton," and whoop de whoop. And I was like, "Cool, man." I went and worked with them on the oil field. They like one check and was like, "All right, I'm back." Like, fuck this, you know what I mean? And was fucking all doing all this crazy shit. And um, I think that's when I went to prison for my first time as an adult. Was right then. Yep, that's what it was. I went to prison in my
How old were
first
you
time.
at this time?
I was 22.
22. Okay.
Yep. I went to prison in my first time as an adult, and then so my dad was already pretty fed up with me. But I went to prison, and he coming to visit me all the time. I'm working now, and I really kind of was like, I was leaning towards. I was like, I want to, I don't want to fucking be a junkie no more. I want to get clean, but I was like, I still want to apply all this shit that I learned because to me, I learned all this dope criminal shit, counterfeit money, million different scams, million different plugs and connects I knew, million different ways to get money, and a million different things and people that I knew, and it was so fun to me. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, there's
is
probably a little bit of an adrenaline rush to some of this too.
it was so dope and so fun to me. You know what I mean? That it was just like anytime that I would lock in, I would try to get a job at like a telemarketer or like Subway. I would just be like, fuck, like this is fucking stupid. Like the fuck am I doing with my time here? You know what I mean? And that's just how I felt for most of my life. And then yeah, it got to the point where basically one day I get out of prison and my dad takes me in. We move to Greeley and we start fresh. He's like, we're gonna kill him, do good, stay clean, all this. And right away I'm start fucking off fucking up. I go to rehab for a little bit. I come out. By this point, I'm not even a hustler no more. I'm just fucking a junkie. Like I'm just super. I just like was just like
You just want
I
to
wasn't
fix.
even make. Yeah, like I just became a junkie. You know what I mean? And I wasn't even hustling. I wasn't getting money. I was stealing from it. I was stealing bike. I wasn't hitting big licks no more for tractors. I was stealing fucking pedal bikes and shit. Sam refries and shit. I've gotten to that level. I wasn't a hustler no more. I was, you know what I mean? And but my dad would always like go to work, man. You have to work, and he took me like he dropped me off at detox and be like detox like stay here, and I would run from detox and go get high and shit, and like because I'd be detoxing so bad, be withdrawing, and I'd be like fuck this, and you could walk out whenever you want, but they like keep you there and help you with your detoxes and shit, and I'd be like I'm out, I was fuck this, I'm gonna go get high, I'm too sick, you know what I mean? Because I'd be so sick and so fucking hot, cold, sweating, not like just fucked up, bro. And so then eventually my dad just got sick of it, and he just one day I used to just like he kicked me out, but I was like, you can't kick me out. You know what I mean? So he'd be like, don't come home, and I'd be like, okay. And I would fucking come home anyways and just walk in the door and make myself at home, take a shower, change clothes, eat, do whatever the fuck I wanted. You know what I mean? I had girls coming over, had people coming over, like just I was still trying to sell dope and buying dope from the house. And he's like, dude, I kicked you out, fool. Like the fuck. And then one day I went out and there's this trap house like about a little ways from
What's a trap house?
it's just like a flop house, it's just like a spot where motherfuckers go to sell and do dope.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I think I've heard the term, but
It's just
you ever watch that show? Oh, what's it called? The Wire.
I've heard a lot about it.
It's a really good show. But anyway, keep going. I think they talk about that.
So yeah, and that's another thing that it was a trip when when I was, but yeah, these trap houses, some of these places in Greeley that I was chilling at, like you go up in there and there's people sleeping on the ground, you know what I mean? People shooting up in the corner. It's motherfuckers just like it was dirty situations, grimy ass. Some of these trap houses were fucked up. There's girls selling ass on Craigslist. There's people selling meth. People like just all the most grimy filth you could think of in some of this shit I was getting into, and then that's where I found since I was homeless, or no, hold up, rewind. So I would go out to them spots and I would go try to make money and get high all night, and I would come back home, or I would go out for 2 days sometimes, and then one day I just left, and then I came back and all my shit was in the front yard, and I called my dad like, what the fuck? How come I can't get in the house? How come all my shit's out here? He's like, I moved to Texas, bro. I told you, like. I was like, oh, fuck. And then there was people picking through my shit, going through my clothes and shit. I was like, get the fuck off my shit, fool. And I like packed what I could, you know what I mean? And I went back to that trap house that I was just at, and I was like, well, fuck, I guess this is where I'm at. And that's what I had to work with. And and instead of like coming some kind of motivation, like get clean, it was just like, no, I'm gonna fucking thug it out. I'm either gonna fucking make a meal or make 25 to life, or I'm either gonna be dead or in prison. That was just my options. I didn't see no option as like, where I'm at now, where I'm going to school and all these gates are opening. Like pretty soon, I might be a graphic designer. But I didn't none of that. I was just like I burnt every bridge. I fucked off everything I could ever fuck off, and I was basically just like fuck. You know what I mean? And so about 6 7 months, I was on the streets there, and then I got into the halfway house. I got into some trouble. I don't know exactly what I got in trouble for. I think it was like
Yeah, I mean, it could
a
have been anything,
possession
right?
or
Yeah.
something. Like it was. I think it was a possession, and I went to the halfway house, and it was just a 18-month halfway house sentence. And so I was in that bitch for like not very. By the time I did majority of my time in county, and by the time I got to the halfway house and they gave me time served, I had like 2.5 months left. And my whole reason behind taking the halfway house is so I could work and stack up enough money to get my own spot. But I
Okay.
got a fucking write up when I got to the halfway house. It set me back. By the time I started making money and getting in, I was only 1 month into fucking working, and then they kicking me out the door, and I was about to be homeless again.
So
And
do you get to keep your job while you're when you get out of
yeah,
the halfway house?
yeah, that's the whole thing. That's the main thing they try to do is get you established with a job, and you know what I mean. So
But
you,
you don't have a place to go back to now, right? You said you're homeless now?
yeah.
Okay.
So I was going to the halfway house, and then I was working. That's when I met my homeboy Ben. Well, I met my homeboy Ben in county jail before that. And then I met him, and then I re-met him at this place I was working at, this lamb plant in Greeley. And this dude been nothing but solid to me since this day, man. He started giving me rides back and forth to that time, and then I kind of told him like, look, it, I'm getting out today, and this is everything I own. You know what I mean? And like, and homeboy rode around with me, helped me find a hotel that was because I went to the one. I was being, I don't know where I got the idea that I could be picky when he's riding me around. I didn't even know him that good at the time, but I went to one. I was like, fuck this. I don't like this hotel. He took me to another one and he rode around. He helped me so much around that time. And then I got in, I was at this Red Wing hotel. It was infested with fucking bed bugs and shit. And I went to kick it with my homeboy Tune and all that. I said I was originally made music with down here in Platteville. Went to some New Year's Eve party. And then the next morning, I was in Fort Collins at some McDonald's, and I was just kicking it by myself, like fuck, trying to figure out what the fuck I'm gonna do. I didn't even want to go into the fucking to the hotel I was at because it was so infested with bed bugs. But it was the only thing I had in my price range really, and so I was like, because I was trying to get a week at a time, you know what I mean? Because I needed a whole week, not a day. And yeah, I got a hold of this lady on Craigslist, and she let me move in. I was living with these college kids in there was like an apartment, or it was
Are you staying clean at this time?
nah. Cause see what happened. Well, hold up, yeah, actually yes, I was staying clean. I was just smoking weed and drinking. They let me out, and that was my goal. I had like between county and the halfway house, I had like 4 or 5 months of clean time, and then I was working, and then I got into that spot, and I was just working, and my boy Ben was taking me back and forth to work. And then one weekend, I was just like, you know what? I was going home by myself every day, just chilling on board. You know what I mean? And I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna hit the homegirl up and see what she's doing. And fucking, she was like smoking dope and kicking it and shit. And I was like, fuck it, come through. And ended up getting all tweaked out. And then
So,
my
what were
homeboy,
were you mainly doing the oxys, or was it was there other shit as well?
uh, I love the oxys is what it all started with. But the oxys kind of went out the window once I went broke. Once I stopped getting money, and I was just doing heroin. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
okay, okay.
But
Because
I
it's
always,
cheaper, right? It's the same kind of stuff, but it's cheaper.
hmm and then for some reason, just like the people I knew and the circles I ran around, I always had an abundance of meth because like just because like these some of these circles I ran with, there was just an abundance of meth. You know what I mean? So I could always had access to that, and I would basically make money off the meth to feed my heroin habit. It was like that for a lot of years.
Okay. So, what do you think? How old are you during this time when you're staying at the hotel and stuff?
Oh, and this happened to see. So
I'm just trying to keep like a.
let's see. So when I went to prison as an adult, I said I was 22, and then I came out I was with my dad like 23. It was like 24, 25 when I was real homeless and fucked off. 20, I would like 25. I say 25, 26.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So, what at what point do you think like you start maybe coming like making a change? You know.
All right, so I get that spot and it's my first ever spot and I'm fucking stoked about it. But then I started getting high. Within 3 or 4 months, I fucked it off and I was at square one, rock bottom again. And some of my partners I was rolling with, all these names that I was kicking it with my homeboy Slim took me in. My homeboy Slim, rest in peace. That's my dog, man. Casey Giesick, and I didn't really know him real well before that, but I just I seen him at this other food spot that I was buying some dope at, some black at, and I told him my whole deal, and he's like, "Bro, if you need somewhere to roll through, I got you." And he just like sent me his address, and I rolled through, and it was the house, and he was struggling like me, so it was these other guy's house, and it was a house with no running water, and these fools were just thugging it out too. They had no running water, but they had electricity, and everybody was, we were all super on dope, shooting all that. It was a super bad trap house. I used to have to, you know, to brush my teeth. I would go use the neighbor's faucet. But we had a drive through and we would sit there and make money. 24 people would come to get dope 24/7. I wouldn't want to leave, or if I would leave, I have people that was expecting people, and I wouldn't leave for days. I'd be over there stinking like a motherfucker. My homeboy Silent would come pick me up to go shower and shit. He died too. He just died last year, or this year, November of this year, or whatever. No, that's last year, I guess now. Um, yeah, man. And then so that was my bottom where I was just like I was living in the house with no running water. Like I would literally there was some couple days. One day I bubbled up enough, and because I wasn't like making money at that point. Like if I could bubble up 50 or $100, and it was fucking the best day in the world. You know what I mean? And it wasn't like before where I was bubbling up 3, 4 G's in a day, and I was just completely a junk. You know what I mean? But I remember I was like, I finally bubbled up enough, and I thought, damn, I think I bought enough heroin. I could actually take myself out with this shit. You know what I mean? I was like, finally, I got bubbled up enough money. I think this one might get me. You know what I mean? And before that, I had
So
a,
are you trying to like do too much, or
I didn't, you
because the way
know,
you said that, it
subconscious.
sounds like you were like almost wanting to.
On that day, yeah, I remember having that thought on that day. And there was actually a day where I did have an overdose at the truck stop in Evans that was prior to that day. It was earlier on in my story than where I'm at. But yeah, because it was all just crazy, you know, in between
What's
that
that
time.
like? Like, is that like I can only imagine. Do you get anxiety or when you overdose?
Oh, nah. No anxiety. It's just relief.
Oh shit. Okay.
Mm. It's pain meds. It's what they give you so you don't feel.
Yeah, I was just curious. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I've never.
No, you don't feel no anxiety, man. No, it's just quit breathing, man. It feels really good, really.
That's scary though.
Yeah.
All right. So you get through. Like you're going through all this. You're in this
Mhm.
like trap house.
Mhm.
What? How do you get
Oh,
out of that trap house?
so no, it wasn't prior to You know what? That wasn't prior. So getting out of that trap house, how I got out of that trap house was I had another homeboy Miles. He came and picked me up, and I would live in his closet, and I would just trap over him with his house for a little while. But how I got off the streets basically is I that's right. I was at that truck stop. It's a double clutch truck stop in Evans, and I I was at the Roadway Hotel across the street actually, and then I went to go sell some dope to somebody at the hotel at the truck stop. I went across the street to meet him to sell dope, and then I fucking loaded up. I went to the bathroom and I decided I'm gonna take a shot real quick before I go back because there was people at the fucking hotel room, and I felt like they're gonna fuck with my vibe and fuck with my shot, and you know what I mean, just fuck my vibe up. So I just wanted to vibe alone for a little bit. So I locked myself in the bathroom and I went to shoot up, and I woke up and I was in the fucking hospital.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I woke up and I was in the hospital, and I had a bunch of Vicodins, and I had pants on, but I had my gym shorts underneath, and I had a bunch of Vicodins in it. And right away, my first thought was like, "Oh fuck, I gotta get rid of these before I get caught with them." And I fucking like went to try to get him, and the cop got me and shit, and whoop de whoop. I still got the pol- the nurse wrote a little note to me that night, and it was with all my like vitals and everything, and it said, "Please stop using drugs." It said on the bottom. I was like, "Oh shit, I still got that." But yeah. So basically, I went to jail right then, and I was on my way back to prison. You know what I mean? Because every time, ever since I was a kid, like they didn't really offer me. It was always like prison or halfway house. Like none of my when I would try to get I've tried to get probation a few times, and I would always just fuck it up and go right. You know what I mean? So I already knew I was like, shit, I'm going back to prison. You know what I mean? And honestly, didn't want probation. I didn't want probation. Like, what the fuck am I gonna probation for? I'm homeless. I ain't got nothing. You know what I mean? I got my parents' house to go fall back on. Uh, so I was like, I heard about this program, drug court, and I wrote the judge, and I was like, look, man, I really want to get clean. Like, I don't got, I'm trying to get clean. I'm trying to figure this out. And I wrote the judge, like, I heard about this program, drug court. Like, let me get in there.
So how'd you hear about that?
Other people, there was another dude. So so I've been in and out of the system a lot.
Yeah.
So I would always hear other people's stories that I'm doing time with. They'd be like, this happened. I'm going to do this, and they're going to see the judge, and I'll be interested in what's happening with their case and with their shit. And I would hear shit, and I heard a couple people on their way to prison, and they would ask for drug court. Please give me drug court. I'm an addict. I want to get clean. And instead of going to prison, they would give them drug court. And I was like, bam, that's how I avoid prison. You know what I mean? Like drug
Okay, okay.
court. And I really at that point it was like that's just how I avoid prison and get you know what I mean? I get my fucking
So are
life
you
back.
really thinking like you want to get clean, or is this more of a just try not to go to prison?
I think at that point it was more trying not to go to prison.
Okay,
It
okay.
definitely was
So you wrote
because
the judge?
yeah, yep. I wrote the judge and then they granted it to me. And yeah, so I got out and I told them I told them that I could go stay at my dad's house when I was in jail. They came and interviewed me in jail, and they're like, "You got a place to go and stuff." And I was like, "Yeah, I got a place to go." Just because I knew if I was homeless, they wouldn't let me go out. Because when you're homeless, they put you in a halfway house, they put you here, they put you there, or
Yeah,
they
yeah,
make
yeah.
you go do time. They don't just let you go. You know what I mean? They don't just let you go to the streets. So I was like, yeah, I got somewhere to go. And I gave my dad's old address and all this shit. And when I got out to the streets, I was like, fuck. I told this lady the first day, because the first thing I'm supposed to do when I get out of jail, I'm supposed to walk to meet this lady at North Range. And she's like, all right, you're going to go back to your dad's house? And I was like, my dad? Like my dad lives in Texas. Like the fuck? And they're like, you told me you could come to your dad's. I was like, I thought I could, but I guess he's in Texas. I knew the whole time, but I just played out like I thought I could, but I guess I can't. Like fuck. And they got me into a sober living house, and at the time, like I was doing a bunch of rap shit with my homeboy overdose, and I was just focused on the rap shit and just I wasn't focused on getting my mind out. I had my back against the wall, the world against me, and my mind wasn't focused on getting my shit right. I was focused on making music, focused on I was smoking spice on the low. You know what I mean? I was focused on girls a lot, just shit like that, the different girls in all these NA meetings, all that stupid shit. And basic I kept getting in trouble for smoking spice. You know what I mean? And
I've had that stuff. It tastes all weird. Like
yeah,
doesn't even really like it
I
makes you feel all weird. I don't know. I wasn't a
they
big
kept
fan.
I kept getting in trouble, and they would send me back to jail for like a day or two, and I would get out and I do good for a little bit. And the problem is, my homeboy would bless me with like a pound of this spice for like $20, and I could sell it for like $5 a gram. So I could make money off of it, and I was also getting fucking addicted to this shit.
Oh man.
Whatever they were putting in it, I would have physical withdrawals from this shit when I stopped smoking it. And every once in a while, if I smoked too much, I'd have a fucking schizophrenic episode and shit. I wake up like on the ground, my friends are telling me all the crazy shit I did.
Oh god.
And all this happening, but I was still adamant about smoking this shit like crazy because it was the only high I could get because I couldn't smoke weed. You know what I mean?
So
And go ahead.
oh, you're fine. You're fine.
So it was like 2 or 3 times they caught me up for that, and then it's like the 3rd time I got in trouble for smoking spice. I was like, I'm good. Like I ain't going back to the judge. I'm embarrassed. Like I'm out. I just ran. I was like, I wasn't living in a sober living house, and I just packed all my shit up and I just bounced. You know what I mean? I was like, fuck this. And yeah, man. Um, luckily around the time that's when I met my girl. She was I was always just like trapping and all that, and just
Was she
fucking.
doing stuff too, or
No, my girl, she's never got into drugs really.
that's good. That's good.
Yeah, she went to um, and she would always just I would talk to her, on the phone, and she's kind of like, don't, you know, come take a shower, like don't fucking run, you know what I mean, and shit, or like don't be out there on the streets and shit. She'd kind of just try to like just being the good conscience, and always, she always cared for me and loved me so much. Always cooked for me. Always just wanted me safe, and always wanted me to be at the crib, be at her crib. You know what I mean? And just not to just be. She just made me feel welcome at her crib, and I haven't felt welcome anywhere in a long time besides jail. You know what I mean? I haven't felt welcome anywhere in a real long time, so it was good, but I was on the run. and I was on Will County's Most Wanted, and I got a job. It was the first job that I ever really took seriously. I was dumping trash. I was riding on the back of the trash trucks, dumping trash. And then I seen on Facebook they put my shit Will County's Most Wanted, and they put my shit on Facebook as Will County's Most Wanted and shit. And I was like, "Fuck."
So
this.
did you end up turning yourself in, or
Nah. I went to go see my mom right away in Ohio to go see her because I thought that I was gonna do more time than I actually did. And I always just think the worst. I always just like, all right, well, even if they say, I'm just gonna assume they're gonna give me so much. You know what I mean? Even though I knew
they're like they're giving me 5 years?
yeah, I was just assuming. You know what I mean? I ended up getting a pretty light sentence, which was nice. But I went to see my mom and see her. It was dope. It was the last time I seen her, and then I came back home and I was still doing shows and shit and performing. And me and the homies were supposed to open up for Jaron Benton at the Moxie in Greeley, and I was there to perform, and the fucking cops came in and got my ass before I went on stage. Yeah, I took off running across. I don't know if you know like where the Moxie is in Greeley and all that.
I think I've been there. Yeah,
I ran out the back down the stairs and I tried to smash out across by Carl's Jr. and they fucking tackled me right there and shit. All my homies and shit came out, and everybody from the Moxie came out. Everybody was being like, "Peace out." I'll let them perform. They're trying to talk him in. They're trying to talk the cop into letting me perform. Just let him perform before he goes. And they're like, we might have let him, but he tried to run and shit. And I get in the back of the cop car, and that was the first time these cops were like, because that was when I first started doing music videos and first started recording music.
Yeah, I've seen a few of your videos.
Yeah, and like around that time, it was, you know, we had a good trajectory. Our little team, everything was dope. It was setting off on a good trajectory. It was so dope. And these cops were like, damn, I've been bumping your music. It's dope and shit. I was like, damn, what the fuck? They're like, how do we think we know who you are? I was like, oh, shit. I'm riding the back of the cop car, and they're like asking me questions about my music and telling me about the songs they like and shit. I'm like, oh, okay. And to me, like, I've been so involved in and out of jail and then like the dope game and all that. It's just life to me. Like so it's just like I would go to when I did hit jail, like it sucks. You know what I mean? It always sucks hitting the county. But I was just like, who am I gonna see up in this bitch? Because when I hit the pod, it's always like, AK, what up? And people know me a lot of times. 9 times out of 10, I hit a pod and there's 3 or 4 people that already know me, and I'm good. I can get a soup. I can get some supplies to hold me over till I get my own shit. People know me. That's just how it's. If I'm in Weld County, that's how it is. And you know, so I was like, at this point, I remember it was just like all fun and game, even in county. You know what I mean? I was talking to my girl every day. I'm playing cards and doing push-ups, chopping it up with the homies, telling them about all the crazy bullshit that just went down. I was on the run. I was on Weld County's Most Run, you know, just bragging, thinking I'm all cool about all this shit that really just is stupid to brag about. Looking back at it. But to me, I was like, yeah, I'm just telling these stories, chopping it up in the county about all the bullshit. And it was fun, you know what I mean? But in my mind, it was still fun in a way. You know, it wasn't fun because I was locked up, but I was just still just, it was still just like, whatever. But then I went to DRDC, that's where they hold you right before they pick out what prison yard you're going to go to. And that was my second time in there. And for some reason, I got inside the same exact cell that I was in 2014 when I went to prison the first time as an adult. And now I'm in the same exact cell by myself, and it's fucking like 10 years. So what was it? 14 to 18. It's like 5 years later, pretty much. I think it was pretty much 5 years later. Almost to the exact. And I spent my 22nd birthday in prison, and I spent my 28th birthday in prison. I also spent my 21st in county jail, a bunch of other shit. But so I was like, when I hit back, something about going to that same exact cell and just being back, it was like full circle, and I was just like, nope, not again, nope. That was the turning point. I was when I sat there in that cell, and I was like, mm-mm.
So it was internal.
Nope. I was like, yeah. I was chopping it up with people that it was their third or fourth time back, and I was chopping it up with people that didn't get that chance. They were doing 25 to life, and I was just like, never again. I'm gonna take my time for granted, and fuck that. And then so I did. And from that day on, like even though I was in jail, like it wasn't bullshitting with the homies, telling war stories. Like I was in my Bible, I was working out, I was getting involved in NA, anything, any kind of fucking thing. Like even though like I didn't stick to all of these, but just anything, just to like, I felt like I was trying to cleanse my mind of all the criminal and all the dope game, and try to learn all this new shit. I wanted to learn new shit. I wanted to learn how normal people live life without going in and out of jail, and how the fuck they make money and they survive. I wanted to learn that. So that's what I did, man. And and I basically I learned a lot about myself first, basically just like, the things that the tricks that I've been playing on myself a lot of times was like that I could dabble in it. I could dabble in it and fucking not fall off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, playing like mental gymnastics.
But like the truth is, I had to change everything. And so when I got out that time, like I had my whole circle of homies. I got that shit tatted on my face. You know what I mean? Or whatever it's at over here. I got that shit tatted on my face. Like High Life. That was I loved all them boys over there. That was my homies, man. You know what I mean? We had my boy Tricks, B Money, Overdose, Slow, all like we were all close. We were on a good trajectory making music. We were just we over them years, all of us being in the gutter and our passion for music and basically the dope game uh was like we formed such a good bond and everything, you know what I mean? And but it was a good bond, but it was still any kind of bond developed in the game when there's a lot of drugs and money, a lot of drugs and shit involved, especially it ends up being crooked. You know what I mean? And
So are all the
so I just made the decision like fuck it. Like I'm coming out this bitch. I'm starting fresh. Like I don't care. Like I'm gonna relearn whole life. Like I don't give a fuck. And a lot of people were mad at me. Like why you don't talk to me no more? And da da da. Like I don't care, bro. Like I'm doing me. Like I'm learning the new shit. Like that's old shit to me. I don't care if you hurt.
well, because
I
you
don't got
don't.
time to go kick it at the trap.
Yeah, because you don't want to fall back into that life.
Nah, not for once. I don't. I wasted enough time there. It's not even that. It's just that knowing that I've spent so much time down there and there's all these beautiful things that I've never experienced because I was too busy experiencing the fucking gutter and the fucking nasty ass things of life, like fucking heroin and prostitutes and trap houses. I was experiencing them things when there's like dope ass shit to experiences like cruise ships and fucking vacations and family, my daughter, like that's the shit. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, that will motivate you right there.
Yeah, like it was like I was already doing pretty good, and I'd already had like I think like 18 months of clean time by the time my daughter came, but that like sealed it. You know what I mean? I was working hard to like unlearn everything and trying to figure out how to be normal and then it was like when my daughter came, I was just like sealed it. I was like, yep, I ain't never going back. Because honestly, like them first 18 months were kind of like a test period. I wasn't even sure if I wanted to do all that normal shit. I was like, I'm gonna test this out. I found a girl that really loves me and really wants to be with me. I really love her. You know what I mean? Somebody that I haven't really trusted nobody like I've never trusted nobody like I trust her. It's crazy the trust and love that we have and shit. So I was like, fuck it, I'll try it, man. Like I finally found like a reason to try. I guess I didn't really want to try it all that normal shit. It didn't make no sense to build all that normal shit and work all that hard when you're gonna die in the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what everybody thinks. You know what I mean? But to me, I was like, the fuck? Nah, I want to make. I'm gonna, you know what I mean? I'm gonna make a meal, or I'm gonna get 25, or I'm gonna make a. I'm gonna either do something dope, or I'm gonna fail doing it. That was like kind of like my shit. You know what I mean?
So you got back into music too? Like, so that's what you're doing now?
Yeah, yeah. And now I don't have like such the fucking attitude of I gotta. It's more. I feel like I'm just building a business from the ground up now.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. And then you're and now it's probably just for the music, right?
Absolutely. Well, yeah, kind of.
That well,
It's
you
developed more and I'm developing it more. It's all taking form now. Like it is about the music, bro, but I really want to breathe hope into some of these people, you know what I mean? A lot of rappers just rap about trap and about selling dope and about how much money they get and all the good shit, but a lot of them really don't rap about the other shit or about, you know, the bad side of shit. And a lot of, there's a lot of whether people know it or not, or want to admit it or not, when a young man listens to music, he's influenced by that. I know I was heavily influenced by a lot of shit, a lot of like psychopathic records, a lot of like trap music, a lot of different shit that like fueled all the behavior I was already into. So I want to be like, for one, I want to be kind of like I want to be like a kind of a positive role model. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just because you've been down there and all that shit, like, you can come up. But at the same time, I don't want to be held like as perfect, or because what if I fail? You know what I mean? I'm just a human. So I wanted them to know that. And on the other aspect, more importantly, it just helps me so much. Like,
It's
I
an
don't,
outlet. Yeah. I got you.
I sit there and I rap about this shit that I like. Some of the songs I rap about are like, in addictions versus ambitions. That's the first time I ever admitted that I said that accidental overdose was a suicide attempt and shit like that. And that's the first time I ever admitted to somebody out loud that I was really trying to commit suicide that day. And I, like, you know what I mean. I recorded it on a track, and then, you know,
It
like,
probably feels like you get a weight off your chest, right?
yeah. And not only that, like, nah, like, what's crazy? I went to perform all these tracks, like these tracks that I've never made music like these. These tracks are like about me being homeless. They're not prideful. They're about me being on the bottom and being like walking the streets, having nowhere to go, and just they're about like fuck, like, you know what I mean, about me just struggling. And then or the beginning of this track is, and at the end it's about how I made it out of it. I made it, you know what I mean? But uh, but like God got me. A lot of these tracks, I'm not talking about, making money, or like sipping lean, like typical trap music. I'm talking about, what it did to me and all this shit. And I didn't know how people were gonna respond when I performed live the other day, last weekend. And I was like, man, it's gonna be weird going up on stage. Like, everybody's up there talking about, how gangster they are, how they smoking weed, and how they making money. Everybody, bragging about their shit up there, and I'm gonna be up there like, what the fuck, I was sick. You know what I mean? I'm the first line to Addiction versus Ambitions is, I woke up hella sick again. I need to find a point. Maybe I should smoke myself, dog. What the fuck's the point? You know what I mean? And I'm approaching this shit like that, and I didn't know how people were gonna respond. But
Bro.
bro, the response was great, bro. Like everybody was like fucking tuned in. I had people. I like usually I This is like my third or fourth performance solo that I've done, and I could tell, like, some of, like, at first it was like, I could tell, I was like, fuck, I need to work on my performance. And then, like, the couple of the last ones, it was like my people that were there for me were like, fuck yeah, AK. But at this last one, like, everybody was like, bro, what the fuck? Like, people were like, bro, you killed that shit. Like, I had strangers coming up to me like, dude, that was so dope. Like,
And you're only gonna get better
and
too.
I was like, all right, well, that's good. That because I was worried if y'all were even gonna like them songs. Like, I really didn't know if y'all were gonna like that shit.
Well, man, I got chills just from that first line you said. Like, that's
Yeah.
so. Where can people find you? Like, if they want to listen to your music and stuff. Like, what's the best?
So you can find me anywhere, Spotify, YouTube. I'm on all that. It's just my last album that came out was AK, His Story. And then so this collection of new songs that I've recorded, um, I mean, the album's pretty much finished. I wanted to drop it on my 3-year sobriety date, which was last weekend. But with school and everything going on with I'm getting ready to have a wedding in June. And I
Well, there is that you have your single out, right? God got me.
yeah, that's a single off my album. Yeah, that
Yeah,
one's
yeah.
out.
So I'll put links for that, and
Mhm.
I'll also link some of your older stuff so people can check you out.
Yeah, just link my YouTube, and it's all
And then
there.
for people that are local, if they can, do you have like a Facebook page or anything?
Yep. It's Austin AK Kudrna, and the same on Instagram, Austin _AK Kudrna. When my album drops, I'm thinking about making a slight change to my name. I think I want to do like the at sign and K, just because there's a lot of rappers and a lot of other shit when you look up on YouTube. If you type in AK, I don't want there to be no confusion. I want them to be able to find me. I don't want you to be listening to somebody else's stuff and think it's me.
Yeah,
or
we'll
something.
drop the links, man. It'll
You
be
know what I
cool.
mean? So no, I mean, so right now that's how it is when you look up AK. But for my further projects and later on, it'll be, I'm gonna change it so it's more distinct.
Oh yeah, huh?
Yeah.
And is there any like final thoughts? Anything you'd want to say to your fans or to anyone listening?
Oh man, just I mean, thank y'all for fucking with me. I love all y'all that are out there, man. That's been a part of my story, man. Um, Thank you for having me up
Oh
here.
yeah, of course, of
It's
course.
cool, man. It's a trip. I wasn't expecting to go. I was really expecting it more to be about more about just the music stuff. It's dope that we got into all that because that's it's cool, man. I hope that yeah, I just hope if you out there struggling with addiction and shit, man, you can make the next 24 hours a good one.
Hell yeah, man. No, I appreciate you telling your story, and hopefully it inspires people, and
Right.
that whatever they're going through in life, they're like, oh dang, like if people can make it out through so much strife, that maybe I can get over whatever I have going on in my life. So I think that will wrap it up. And then, guys, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and go ahead and follow us on. If you could find us on Spotify, we're on iTunes, Google Podcast, all of that. We're getting that all up and running. And yeah, it's been great. Have a great one.
Thank you, bro. Right on. Yeah.
You was tough, warm, cozy in your condo. All I had was a car ride. And knowing I was alone wasn't the hard part. I used to break in and try to sleep inside of parked cars. Wake up to a gun in my face, boot in my ass, now that's a kickstart. Wake up and just walk because I had nowhere to go. I used to pop the top off Oxycontin 10 in a row. I used to shop until I dropped when I was boosting from the stove. Now the only time you see me, you got tickets.